Greetings, welcome to the channel. Berry picking with 6. I know the announcement's not going out. I put an announcement a half hour ago roughly. I actually left the house at 10:45. I had a couple things to do. It's getting closer. I would have actually been hiking up the hill at about 10:50. I think if I actually want to be on the hike at 10:30, I'm going to have to be out at 10:20, which is going to cut my little kitty boy short. I have no idea. I'm going to just give you nature cam for a minute while I check Twitch to make sure I actually have my live. I like to double check stream elements just because stream elements can be double checked. Twitch says I'm live. I can't reply in chat. I can see your chat in stream elements, but there's no way to reply, but the camera control is worth it. What you can actually do with the camera control is pretty nice. It's interesting, the live, yep, we're live. It's interesting, the live, yep, replicate. We're live. It's interesting, the live, yep, replicate. We're live. It's interesting, the live, yep, replicate. We're live. I should record this sometime. Come on, phone. Okay, I'm putting the phone in the rig after I remember how it goes in the rig. Oh wait, turn on the chat first. Got my chat? Hey Merlin, welcome. You're already here. I'm only about 15 minutes off of where I wanted to be. I had to do a couple extra things. When it comes down to the 5-hour hikes, hopefully I'll have that sorted. We're charging? Good. I remembered to bring a couple extra things. I need a new berry picking container, so I took my neighbor's advice. He said to me about 10 times, get one of these and use that, so I'm going to try and figure that out because my normal bag isn't going to work since I have this filming rig now. And this might be better anyways. One of my favorite seats. Okay, enjoy your lurk. I'm going to hike. The farmer's out finally cutting his hay, so we're going to hear his noises. He's about to drive past on a loop here. I don't think we'll be saying hi out of respect for his privacy, not knowing that this is live. He probably wouldn't care. He's out doing his important work. What's nice though, if they didn't cut into the berry patch in the corner up here, is that I will be able to pick berries there a lot easier than having to stump through the field with it 3 feet high. I'm going out to the second season patch. I didn't pick this the first season I was here, so I call it the second patch even though it's more like the 15th or 20th patch I discovered. I got the top of the hill patch and the second patch. And I might have to actually go back up to the top of the hill because they might not be ripe out here in the second patch yet. But I kind of want to see it. We'll pause here at the usual point and I'm going to adjust the rig, see if it's up high enough. If it's pointing up at a good angle where it catches the trail and everything, I can't see the chat, but I can always tip the thing down. Besides, I can see the last thing was my bot. Beautiful as last time. And good thing it's clear sky because I forgot the camera. I want to make a sleeve for the camera out of a bag. We got these little quarter sandwich baggies, Ziplocs. Or maybe a bigger one. I want to try and make a little pouch so I can just slip it over the camera if it rains. But there's just floofy white clouds up there. I don't think it's going to rain. Let's check the berries over here. That's it for the pause. I want to get out to the patch. I actually did a couple things this morning. I went on to see if there was anybody to host, and Sycon's on. He was on last night. I raided him. I tried to host him and it didn't work. I'm already hosting him. He never went down. He was just up. I say all night for me, but it's probably not all night for him because I think he went up in the morning. This is that little vine that's by my break area. And we're having some, I don't know if it's going to show it to you in the sun. We're having some starter berries, 5 of them. These get eaten. And then we get hopping on down the bunny trail here. More like a deer trail, but that's the expression, as it were. Oh, something grabbed the camera. See, out through this exit right here, straight ahead, there's a berry patch on that corner, and it doesn't look like he cut into it. So I'll be able to pick those. That'll be pretty nice. The cool way about going up the hill, there's only one patch, or two. There's a little patch. And there's some over there, but I don't want to stop just to grab a couple. There's that one little patch. Well, I start out at the start point. There's a patch. We got a siren. At the start point, there's a patch. And, you know, I just realized I don't have my nippity nippers out. And I'm walking through a little mini forest of things that are trying to claw me. I say that they're blackberries. And I'm going to make sure they don't get the opportunity to bite me. And some of this other tall stuff. I'm getting into it. I'm trying to keep an eye out here for the blonde vine. And it fell down and it really hides. And I had it spotted. I think it's this down here. I'm not going to bend down. It's there. It's still green. I see grapevines trying to get across my path. Wild grapes are fine, except you can't eat the grapes. One, you can't eat them. Oh, we're getting nipped. 2, they block your view of raspberries when they grow through them. And 3, they're really tough. So they'll block you when you're trying to go through them. Ooh, I'm tripping over a raspberry vine. We got some more on the way berries. Oh, these on the way berries are really nice. I'm gonna grab a handful of them. Berries, when they're fresh like this, I find that they contain a lot of energy. So I got another handful of on the way berries. There's a little patch starting up here. It's growing pretty nice. You can see that characteristic white tint of the new raspberries. Nice thing about going this way, going up the hill, there's the starter patch, which I looked at before I started filming, broadcasting. There's one little patch off to the side. And there's a decent sized patch halfway up. Going this way, there's about 6 different patches. This one, as we can see here, yeah, I'm not letting you grow on my raspberries. This one, as we can see here, is still really green. This one's a couple weeks behind the rest. So this will be an on-the-way patch to pick as I go up the hill. Well, while I'm here, I'm going to cut all you guys because you grew together. And this stuff's just wild growing all over the place. In about a week, I expect to be going on the 5-hour hikes. A little mini maple tree. They don't grow so good out here when they're clogged up by all this. This is really weed growing area. Weeds grow best. I've brought flowers out here, even wildflower variety. I bought a seed pack of wildflowers. They didn't do too good that I noticed. I brought tomatoes and cucumbers out to test them out. They don't do good. Most of the domesticated stuff needs cleared area where it can breathe. This is for weeds. And I have my belt on and my pants are falling down. I just realized it's not buckled. But we're off and we're in the berry picking range, so we'll call that good. We've got some more on the way berries. This is actually a decent little patch. I might start picking here today. Because once the big stuff happens, oh, I don't have my lid on yet. I've discovered the bucket's good to sit on, but it's a good idea to bring a lid for it, because if you don't, it will get filled up with junk. So I remembered my belt. I had to do 5 minutes of weed whacking this morning and change locks on a door. We got a door handle with the aluminum, the outside screen door with an aluminum handle or a cast metal handle. I think it was cast iron, cast metal. That spongy looking stuff. And its lower piece wasn't pegged down, and it finally broke last night when I was bringing the cat in. It got stressed enough to just bend it and break. So I had to swap it out with another one that wasn't broken. I'm going to have to go get a new one of those. I gave my chitin kitty a few minutes. I don't want to completely abandon him for berry picking. The rest of the year, the berries aren't there, he's going to be there. But he'll just sleep and wait for me to come back, and then he'll get his petting and everything. I'm trying to step into this bush, and there's little berry plants coming up. I just nipped my own boot. I felt that. Sometimes you pick the wrong thing. You pick one that's not right. Oh, there's some nice ones up there. I don't know if I can get up to them. I tell myself every season in the winter, when cutting out the nasty stuff, go all the way to the ground. And then I start picking, and I kind of ignore that advice a bit. Just a bit, because it's more convenient just rather than how, because wintertime it's easy to see the ground. I saw some more berries. They're all the way up there. I can't get to that from here. Once you get into this, getting towards summer, you can't see the ground anymore. So, that's about 20 berries. Now we're going to go over to the main patch. There's a couple more little patches to go by. It's pretty nice going this way. This patch was already here, but some of the patches I've watched start from like either one little piece 4 or 5 years ago or nothing. Like the animals and me dropped berry parts and they just grew. So that's pretty cool. Now in here, there was a huge vine the last 3 years, but this is, looks like this guy's all that's left. Caw, caw. I love crows. When it's raining, there's always a crow running around cawing my run area. When I run and it's raining, there's always a crow flying around, or two. That's really cool. They kind of keep me company. Sometimes they're there on the nice days, and they talk to each other. They're talking to each other. I can hear another one further off. These, I might actually put these in the bucket to start, because these are really nice looking berries. These, I don't know if that's going to focus. These are big juicy berries here, and there's a lot of them ripe. Once it gets down to the 5-hour days, I probably won't do this because there won't be as many here. The crow's right overhead. Where you at, crow? Mr. Caw-Caw. Sometimes it seems like the crows talk back. They're pretty smart birds. They know how to use like rudimentary tools. There's one I think uses a stick to dig out ants and stuff from anthills. And I have a video. I need to put it in one of my streams and get it in my videos of a crow sledding on a leaf down a roof in the wintertime. Maybe mix it with a clip of the movie where he's fighting up on the Crow movie where he's fighting on the church roof with his enemies. Because that would actually be kind of cool. What the movie says crows do, what crows really do. Alright. And these berries taste so good. Oh, dropped one. In an area like this, you can reach down and pick up a dropped berry. I'm going to go down through the tunnel here. Actually, are we going up the hill? Because there's a berry patch over here. I guess I'll check it and pick this area, but... Because if I go that way, there's more berry patches going that way, and up the hill there aren't. Up the hill is just a quicker trip to the main patch. This is what berry picking's like, standing in front of a berry patch. And I watched the last video, I scrubbed through it and watched parts of it. And I know mostly what you're seeing is this. It's just a bunch of leaves bobbing around. And it's like, well, without somebody separate to sit here and film my antics like a Steve Irwin kind of setup, this is what you're going to get. It is the best option I have. Or a drone. If I could program a drone to follow me around until it gets stuck and I have to waste a couple of hours freeing it up and getting it working again, I could have that. And that's exactly why I'm not getting a drone. I am practiced with the wild and I'm good to be out here. A drone? I think a drone would face additional challenges. And I'm out here to pick berries, not fix electronic equipment. That's a different aspect of life. I do that too. You want to go back through my Twitch videos, one of the streams I actually fixed a guy's Xbox. The guy that installed my high-speed cable, his Xbox was broke. And he found out I do soldering. Or he figured it out just from all my stuff because I had a bunch of soldering irons out. I was sorting through them. I was looking for one in particular. I think that's, maybe not. He might have noticed one. He's like, oh, do you solder? My Xbox is broken. So I tore his Xbox apart. I'm like, well, I would do this when I was driving a tow truck. People would be like, oh, I need a jump start. And it's like, well, let me try it. And there were two cases. They didn't need a jump start. There was some other problem. Or the battery had just enough kick while they were waiting and I could actually start their car. I did that a few times from a nearly dead battery. A completely dead battery, you're not going to do that. Or even a half-dead battery. Down in Florida, it was in the 90s when I drove the truck. Back then, they didn't have automated lights. Oh, I got this stuff here in my face. In my mouth. Luckily, I know I have my honey. I made sure I picked it. But it would be raining and people would go into restaurants and stuff. And they wouldn't turn their lights off. And sometimes there was a friendly person. I was there when that trend ended, when they made the automated lights in the late 90s. I was participating. Because you always told somebody, hey, you left your lights on. And I told some guy one day with like a newer Cadillac, and he's like, no, they're automatic now. It's like, oh, get out of here. You're taking away some of the joy of tow truck drivers. Well, not really. But when it would rain, we would get swamped with people that just left their lights on. And would have to run around like crazy trying to go everywhere. And AAA makes promises to their members that somebody will respond in a certain amount of time. It's kind of challenging. It was kind of challenging. But I was in my 20s, late 20s, so I was up for it. I wouldn't want to really try that now. Plus, it's not that exciting of a job. I think the most exciting moment, yeah, you're getting a dissertation on towing while I'm picking berries. I think one of the most exciting moments was a flipped car. Of course, it was a state police call. We get calls from the cops you could get on. If you had a tow truck and you were licensed with the state, you could get on the police registers too. And it was a cash call, so it was like $75 to tow a car to your yard. And we got half the money the truck took in. Of course, they took the gas out first, so you paid for half the gas. But you could make yourself some money that way back then. I think the guys that had an hourly wage that didn't run around like crazy doing AAA calls were probably happier, though. Having money is only a short-term joy. I'm not saying to just blow it. You got to have enough. I can't get to the tunnel. You got to have enough to do your things. I suppose I should say take care of your responsibilities first. The tunnel is flummoxing me. I'm backing through it because I'm wearing the film rig. If I wasn't, I would go through it forward. And it got donked. Anyways, but it's somewhat safer. So be responsible with your income if it goes well. Especially with online, a lot of these video games now have in-app purchases, in-game purchases. And I will tell you that one time I put $3 into a Steam wallet to get something in TF2 that they later made a free drop and said, well, I'm not doing that again because it's not worth it. I think it was one of the sniper weapons that I really wanted because it's basically a rail gun. It would hit multiple enemies. Then they made it a free drop. And that was the only virtual good I think I've ever purchased. I try to buy most games like that, these new kind of games, in a bundle that comes with everything. Or on a Steam sale where you get a pretty decent discount. Because otherwise you're paying out that hole for stuff that at the end of the day now you can't even transfer it to someone else. It used to be you bought a CD or something. Back when Quake came out, me and a buddy got together and he's like, hey, I want this, I'll pay for half. And I don't know if it was just to be part of the Quake community, because I know for a fact that his wife was a doctor. And he had plenty of money to buy it himself, but he wanted to go halves, so we did. Of course, all he did was sit there on his lunch break and do speed runs. And mostly the shareware episodes, I think. Well, he got good at those while he was waiting for the release. And he kept doing that. And I got the CD, I still have it. It's pretty cool. I know when Quake first came out, it was a lot of joy for me. And I had been part of the Doom scene for a couple of years. I was working on a Doom map based on a nightclub, which I still have, and I was going to do the Gauntlet port. And I discovered that putting graphics and sounds and things like that in Doom was pretty challenging at the time. I think it's gotten easier, but you had to use DHackEd. You had to edit WAD files. You had to have WAD file tools. And back then, those were all DOS tools. They hadn't really caught up with Windows yet. There were a couple of GUI tools. I have a Doom editor that's pretty decent. I think it's just called DoomEd. It was one of, here comes the, we'll wait for the tractor, it's noisy. It's on the other side of 60 feet of trees, or 40 feet of trees, but it's still loud. I'm really wondering how I was getting through here before, because I've gone through here a couple times. Now, I'm not entirely certain what my operation was. These old berry patch vines are going to die starting in August, some of them. August and September, it's kind of sad in a way. I'll go around and say, oh, that vine's dead, that vine's dead. And I try to watch these new vines that are coming up. Hardest part of getting over vines is getting the second foot over them because it gets caught. You don't get to stay here. No, I know you have berries, but I'm berry prejudiced. The wrong kind of berries right now. Okay. Wow. Yeah, I probably spent a good, let's see, how long has it been? If I can get the, oh, not too long. 30 minutes hiking out. I started about 10 after filming. Just spending a little bit of time grabbing some of these on the way. Because once the big patches start to go, I went up the hill, I think. Once they go peak, I call it peak picking. Once they get to peak, I won't be stopping in these little patches much. And yeah, if you're lurking or watching, things are going to bounce around a good bit. Okay, new vine. I don't want you growing across this path. It's the only path I have left. It's the only way through right now until the old stuff dies. And I manage to cut. But right now, these are here. I might as well pick them on the way. I'm just keeping my little bucket down in the big bucket for now. When we get to the spot, I got to MacGyver the new picking container. Wow. I'm being poked by raspberry plants. They're, oh, we got a stucker. And I'm having to step through a tight area here. Didn't used to be a tight area, but it is now. Before everything starts growing, you can easily see where everything goes and you can just step through adeptly. That's in the wintertime, the early spring. Sometimes late fall, the stuff starts clearing out into beginning of November. It gets a lot easier. But this time, it's no easy. And yeah, he's going to come around and he's done. He's fluffed. They cut the hay and the next day they fluff it up and let the sun heat it up. And then they bale it up. I suspect he's going to try to bale it today too because they keep saying rain in the paper. They just say rain every day. Chance of rain. Some days it rains and some days it doesn't. It's almost like the weatherman's taking a safe guess. And I'm already getting to where my hair is getting pulled because I didn't wear a hat and I'm going to have to put water in it. Before we start the main pick, if I have to run up to the top of the hill, I'm not stopping in any little patches on the way. I haven't been through here in about a week and a half, so it's really thick. And things have fallen over on the patch that weren't here. There's actually a nice size little raspberry patch in here. This is what happens. This stuff grows. And then it falls over, and then it grows up, some more grows up, and it falls over. And I had all the stuff cut back in the winter, and there's new stuff here. I don't know, there should be a sizable, it's right in here. There's some new ones coming up that are nicer. But let's get over here and see. These first few hikes on all the different paths are partially just to get to the berry picking and partially to clear out all the mess that I have to deal with. Down at the end of this path, there's a neat little berry patch too. Like I said, along my paths, I don't know if it's for me eating the berries and dropping the seeds or the birds and the deer, because they're also deer trail. And when the deer eat the berries, then they come out, the stuff that's left comes out pre-fertilized. Ow, there's something grabbing me from behind because I missed it. A little bit of owie. Life, anything you have good in life doesn't come without sacrifice. You got a lot of people. See, this is the thing. A lot of people think, oh, I'd love to be wealthy if my parents had money and I could just inherit it. But I have my personal opinion. If you get that wealth without working for it, without making the sacrifice, it doesn't hold the same value, number one. So there's a good chance you might lose it. And you're not going to respect it as much if you're not the one that made the sacrifice for it. And I think you're certainly not going to enjoy it. Because I met a guy one time. I was, where's my stick at? Wow. I was working for this organization that sold books. Well, I was actually working for myself. I was an independent contractor. But I ended up as an owner in the organization. I ended up owning one of these book warehouses, book sales warehouses. This is also a nice area somewhat. It needs to grow up a little bit. It got clobbered a couple of years ago. But I ended up as an owner of this warehouse, and I went to some of the get-togethers. We did one in Atlantic City, New Jersey. We did one in Georgia at some retreat. And one of them, there was a speaker. This guy had actually made it and became a millionaire. He owned one, and what you do is they have a hub administrator. And everybody that comes out of your office, the main company was out in California, Tormont Books. I think it was Tormont. No, that's in Canada. It was WWI, they called it, Worldwide Industries. You had all these different warehouses selling their books. And as an independent contractor, it wasn't a pyramid scheme, because if you sold a book, like say you sold a $10 book, you got $2.50. That was your cut. The person that owned the warehouse got $2.50. And the other the $5 from the sale went to WWI in California. And what they would do when a guy came out of your office and opened his own warehouse, they would take some of their $5 that always went to them, and they would give you a small portion. And that's having a little, oh wow, look at this vine. We're going to interrupt the story. There's just a whole bunch of ripe stuff on it. This isn't even the main picking area. It's a portion of it. We've actually kind of arrived at the picking area to be looked at, but this is a good sign that there's this many here to pick. See, this is what I do. I have about 3 different major areas, and I pick every other day, and I try to go to a different area once they're all right. But really, I'll bounce back and forth between this area and the top of the hill, because they have the best results. And I've got to MacGyver my thing here before we get in the main bit of it. So back to the story. So this company takes a portion of its profits, because it sells millions of books, and it gives it back. And I met this guy that had done that. He had started a whole bunch of he had trained a bunch of guys, and they started their own offices, and he was getting that little portion from the main company. And I met him at this conference, and I think it was the one in Georgia. It could have been at Atlantic City, because that was a much bigger deal. You know, everybody that got multi-million-dollar company wants to go to Atlantic City at one point and have fun, you know, as they say. But I met this guy, and he had I don't know the best way to put it. He had the deadest looking eyes I ever saw. It looked like somebody just sucked his soul out and crunched it up and either ate it or threw it away. He just looked like there was nothing there, like he had no hope, he had nothing to live for. And this guy was a multimillionaire. And I think that was probably my personal experience with the first multimillionaire. It might be my only experience. I don't think I've met too many of them. I pretty much stick to an ordinary life. So I don't think having a lot of money necessarily does you any good. You need enough to pay your way in life and eat and live and have a place to stay and decent things. You're not necessarily going to get the best or everything you want. Although if you're pretty clever, like I've managed to collect a lot of consoles and video game stuff just secondhand. That there's no way I could have bought all that stuff new. So if you're clever, you can do some things. Go around to Goodwills, and yard sales used to be really good in the 90s. I got most of the consoles I have in the 90s in at a yard sale type area, and you could just go pick stuff up for $10. No big whoop. It's like, how much you want for that Commodore 64? What do you think it's worth? Oh, about $5. I'll take 10. And Goodwill used to sell them. They'd get it in a box, and they'd turn around and put it out on a shelf for 10 or 20 bucks. And then they decided they were going to go through all the hardware and test it, and they started splitting stuff up. And then they stopped selling computer hardware because they messed up their own little thing there. It worked great. I went into a Goodwill one time, and I think that was the time I got the Commodore 64C that I still have. And it was in a box. It just came in, and it's like, oh, I just bought one of these at a yard sale yesterday for like $10, a similar thing. And he's like, oh, $15. That's back when you could actually negotiate with the salespeople too. Now, if it doesn't have a tag on it and hasn't been priced by one of their special people, you can't buy it. It has to go back to the back to be priced. And it's like, what do you think you're selling here? You've got other people's stuff that they didn't want. It's junk they didn't want. And you've been blessed with the chance to do something with that. Don't mess it up. If you have blessings, try not to mess them up. I know it's challenging in life to go through and do things, but if you find you've been blessed with something, try to make good on it. Oh, there's somebody. I'm trying to clear out this rose bush, and there's actually stuff behind me to pick. There's some growing back here. You got to look around when you're berry picking. Well, I kind of like to look around anyways. I was years ago. I got my Jeep and I did a lighting mod, and I had a 13-foot run of wire to the light control panel in the cab because I decided to do it that way, and I must have put in 20, 25 pieces of wire. That's a lot of wire when you think about it. Let's say 15 feet to make it easy. 300 feet of wire. Well, more than a decade ago, I was driving around one day down in Florida when I had a warehouse to run my business. And I think it was there by one of the dumpsters. I found 4 spools of wire, like 2,000 foot wire spools, just laying there. Somebody had contractor supplies and they threw it out. And I'm like, oh, that's good wire. It's maybe 12 gauge wire. It's heavy duty contractor wiring too. And I got three spools of that. There was a spool of lesser gauge, like 20 gauge, 18 gauge black wire, a red and a blue spool of the 12 gauge stuff. And this is heavy duty stuff, and then a spool of 2 or 3 conductor signal wire, thermostat wire, phone cord type wire when you only had 2 wires. And I grabbed that stuff. Like, I'll have a use for that one day. And I was right. And then another time I was going along and there was a whole thing of roofing nails. I have a half a coffee can of those left. I gave the rest away. And then I found 1-inch drywall screws. Just a whole thing. that somebody didn't need and they threw out. Sometimes there's berries back in there. I'm wondering if it's worth it to actually head up this way because I got to step over stuff. And, the little young ones coming up are getting damaged. I stomped one down because it wasn't visible. He might be okay. We'll pick him back up. And I got to get back through there. There might be another way through here. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going up there. This is another area where a few years ago, after I was done picking, somebody drove a piece of machinery through here to make a deer trail. And they probably don't need to bother because the deer make fine trails on their own. But see, what the hunters want to do is route the deer along a certain path. So they'll make a convenient trail because the deer will follow the convenient trail. So for your notes this morning, we've gone from towing philosophy, berry picking philosophy, now we're going deer hunter philosophy. I'm not necessarily an expert in any of these things. Well, I was an expert in the towing for job requirements. And berry picking is just I'm a dedicated amateur hobbyist. People would probably call me a professional. I have an Atari 7800 Pro system. I'm a professional game reviewer. That's a joke from Classic Game Room. Shout out to Mark Bussler. He kind of got me into this, watching his show. It wasn't the first show. That was AVGN, I think, was my first YouTuber show. That was maybe 2011. That came at a time in my life when I really needed something to keep me going through a tough time. And that really helped out. See, there's some back there, but I don't know if I actually want to go back there to pick right now. I just want to stick to the cultivated areas that I've already made. Well, it's not too hard to make a trail through here. But I don't see anything much to pick. It curves up around the corner, but my bucket's down there. Although, come to think of it, this is kind of a convenient, if I cut out all this dead blackberry, this is kind of a convenient place to go through and hook around this corner because my regular path is gone. It all grew up different. When the stuff growing isn't raspberry, it's no problem going through. When it's raspberry, I cut a new path. And this might make a decent path through here. And if somebody decides to drive a piece of machinery along here again, there's not that much growing here, raspberry-wise, so. And they went this way because there's a big patch of wild rosebush right here. I don't care what you have. Unless it's a tank, you're probably not driving through a patch of wild rosebush. Maybe. You've got enough protection. If you've got a sealed cab on a tractor, you might do it. But on a little four-wheeler, little ATV, I don't think you want to drive through a patch of wild rosebush. Okay. There's this guy that got knocked down that's probably going to stay there. I got to get back over now. I'm trying to go through here because it's the edge. And I've got jaggers in my boot. How'd that happen? There's something in there. I got little sticky burrs too. Almost just this little area. Oh. No. Stream Elements is trying to drop me out. No, I don't want to end stream. Almost, I got a half a container here. But I'm going to eat some of it. If you showed up, this is berry picking with 6. We've been discussing various philosophies. Let's see, philosophy of towing. Tow truck driving, I did that. I was discussing my observations of the only multimillionaire I've ever personally met. And that started off with the opinion piece that having a lot of material wealth does not make you happy. That was my, I'm going to download these later and maybe one day I can watch them. That was my lead into that these people that have vast material wealth, they don't seem like happy people to me a lot of times. You'd think that they'd be, set, they have everything provided in life, especially the children that just inherit. But it's my opinion that if you didn't make the sacrifices to get that, you don't appreciate it as much. And it doesn't have as much meaning. It doesn't have as much meaning. It's not, it doesn't do you any good, in other words. Right now, if you gave me a choice between what I have currently and being a multi-billionaire or multi-millionaire, I'd keep what I have. I'm in a berry patch somewhere. I'm relatively happy about it. I will have berries to eat that nature provided. You can't go to a grocery store and buy these. And that might not sound like a big whoop, but I almost tripped over a vine again. I'm going to tell you, in my experiences, the store stuff never tastes as good as the wild stuff or the garden-grown stuff, especially when you grow it yourself. And maybe it's because this stuff is better. The garden stuff and the wild stuff is better. Because I've heard that that stuff's hydroponically grown, some of it, and it's blander tasting. Or maybe it's because I've made this clogged throat. We're gonna stop here in a little bit. I've almost got a half a bucket I'm gonna do. Oh, I didn't bring my usual morning meal. I guess it's berries. So for my morning meal, I have honey and berries. It's almost a honey and locust kind of situation, except I'm not eating bugs. You may not, if you're lurking and listening, you may not realize the biblical joke there. John the Baptist, who preceded Jesus and announced his coming, survived in the wild on honey and locusts. Somewhat. Wild honeycomb and locusts, which actually the wild honeycomb sounds pretty cool. I'm not so sure about eating the locusts. Bugs are not something that appeals to me. I don't know that I ever want the experience. Even the chocolate-covered ones. I think covering a dead bug in chocolate is probably a misuse of chocolate on some scale. I don't know why. You could cover peanut butter, you could cover nuts. There's all kind of things you can put chocolate on. Dried raspberries and blueberries you can get. Raisins are good. Ooh, chocolate-covered pretzels are awesome. Yeah, we're discussing chocolate-covered things now. And, you know, vine, you can grow somewhere else. You're completely covering my path. And there was like different stuff here, but this tree fell over, and I don't know if it's dead yet. We're going to put this vine over here unless it comes back. Then it's getting cut some more. But it fell over and clobbered this area, so I can't get through easily. So my breakfast today is berries and honey, because that's all. I bring my honey because this one grass pollen clogs my throat. So I have to have some honey. I have water in case it's really hot, and then I have my morning tea. There's actually a thing up through here, and I was up here like in the last 2 months, and it looks like it's clogged up pretty good. I don't know that there's that much in there to pick, so we're going to go straight ahead. I think we're going to go straight ahead. The path disappeared on me, and I'm trying to determine the best way through. There's a lot of different kind of vines here, and they're hard to get through, and now I see wild rose bush. And of course, if there's wild rose bush, the raspberries are moving into the area. No, you don't. It tried to get me. Help, help, I'm being repressed. Come see the violent inherent in the system. Yeah, I'm a Monty Python fan too. And I've come across a random berry vine with at least one berry to pick. No, that doesn't look good. Okay, we got to go by this berry vine. I hear a crow. These are blackberries. I'm like looking at this, and it's like these look like raspberries. Those are, oh, okay. I'm figuring this out. There's a raspberry vine and a blackberry vine together here. I'm like, wait a minute, are those raspberries or blackberries? These are the blackberries and these are the raspberries. They kind of got connected here. I'm disconnecting. See, over here's a raspberry root. I'm going to check chat. The raspberry root sends up new shoots. Just my usual lurkers. I'm stuck on a blackberry. Some days getting to the main berry pick takes a little bit of effort, depending. I'm having trouble getting through the vines. And then vines you got to watch vines, because sometimes you just pull through and they'll clobber a raspberry plant nearby because they're tied into it. Yeah, this area has berry vines all over the place. I'm eating that one. So up here, and I see some off in the green. Nominally, I can head up this way. So you got to be careful. There's watch out. There's wild rosebush growing in here. Wild rosebush, blackberry, and raspberry. Rosebush claw mixed together pretty well. And it's always good to have a hiking stick. Even when you go into the curated parks, the ones closer to a wild area, having a stick's a good idea, because you might have to scare away a wild animal. In my experience, wild animals, mostly when a human comes around, run. Even snakes. Now, insects, they'll probably sting the crap out of you if they're stingers and they don't like what you're doing. But animals, they're pretty much smart enough to run from humans. They know the score. They've known the score for a long time, better than us. I don't think it's that we don't know the score. You can know the score. It's that we like to keep count of the wrong things. Like I was just talking about money. People that come across wealth. People that win the lottery. That's a great example. And they're multimillionaires and they do all this stuff, and 5 years later they're worse off than where they were. Because they had a decent paying job. They were making their way through life. They were satisfied. They had things settled for the most part. And they win this lottery. Suddenly they're wealthy. Their life goes through this chaos. And then it's all gone. And then they're worse off. Crows are calling out on our berry picking journey today. I love the sound of crows. They talk to each other. Sometimes there'll be two crows, like different parts of this woods up in the trees. One will call out and the other will call out. They'll call back and forth. Sometimes I'll be like, crow, crow, come here, let me pet you. They never do. Why should they listen to me? Ow. I'm reaching in and there's a dead blackberry tied in somewhere and it got me. So we're heading into the main area here in a little bit. I'm going to take a short break and eat my berries and honey. Oh, I got a claw in me. I'm just picking some of the ancillary outside areas to the main patch. Since they have a good amount of berries in the outside areas, I'm thinking at the main patch, I've almost got a 3/4 of a container. So I'm hoping the main patch today has about 4 or 5 containers in it. Because I'm going to eat half of this for breakfast. I'm hoping the main patch is doing pretty good. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go up on top of the hill too. I want to check the time here and see where I'm at. Anybody that stopped by the channel recently, this is Berry Picking with Six. I'm out in my usual berry patch. I've decided to stream until I find out. I've got the unlimited data plan, but it's the lower tier, which they have throttling on it. And I don't know how many of the 5-hour days I want to stream. When I get down to the big picking days, I might just do a nature cam while I pick instead of wearing the streaming rig, the filming rig. But I've decided to stream and see how the data cap goes, because at the end of June, there'll still be picking in July. It'll reset every month. I think it's the end of the month it resets. I changed my plan over on the 17th, but I think that's just for billing purposes. I'm walking through a wild rosebush forest here, and of course, raspberries are growing here, but this is a shady area under a big tree, so I don't think they're going to come up too much. So this is the entry. I got bopped by something. Oh, you're hanging on. This is the entry to the main picking area, right here. And I clear out the wild rosebush on. This is where I'm going to take my break. I don't tip my bucket over. I'm actually going to sit on my bucket. I'm going to MacGyver the thing. See, once I'm done with the picking for a while, I like to always cap the albeeting bugs too. I like to, I don't have the bucket lid on yet. I've accumulated a daddy longlegs. Let's get him out of there. No, you don't want to stay down in there, trust me. You get out on the plants. You do not want to stay down in there. So, oh, there's another spider down. I've collected spoders. Now there's another one. What is it with you guys? It's not the place? Okay. We have a special operation. We have to dump the bucket out. It's accumulated too much life forms that I don't desire to be in here. I bought some extra straps in case I need them. Oh yeah, always note to self, when leaving the house, always put the lid on the bucket. You have to do that now. You can't. I did it because I had this big bottle that doesn't have the rig yet. I can actually, I set my teacup up today so I can take it off. I have it set today so I can take it off. I put it on the outside because I knew that'd be better. This is my old rig to hang the phone, so let's do that. Give me a break from having the phone on here. I know I hit a button, but I think it's okay. Okay. There we are. Let's see where the breaks. This is a nice shady area here. Let's see if I can find something to hang the phone on. This tree right here looks kind of convenient. And it does have, well, let's see if I can get it where you're not going to be staring at, one, my hand, and two, a bunch of stuff. There we are. If you haven't watched me before, now you can see I got one of these around the neck bracket things. This is actually pretty stiff wire and you can bend it where you want. Somewhat convenient. I already got pollen in my nose. We're about to start the main pick. Let me see what time it'd be. Noon. I left about 11:10, 11:15, so 45 minutes. I've got 3/4 of a container. I'm going to eat half of it. For main picking, not a great equation, but for right now it's fine. Once the main picking starts up, I want to try to get about a container every 25 minutes minimum. Container every 20 minutes is great for main picking. And I didn't remember a hat today, so I got to put water in my hair just to keep it matted down so it doesn't get caught in everything. Hats are really better. I do this when I'm running to stay cool. It works great. And it's not a super hot day. When I woke up, the porch temperature was 68 degrees. Porch temperature is about 5 degrees below out in the yard in the sun temperature, so 73 roughly. Yes, indeed, it is berry time. Okay, welcome. Actually, I didn't remember my usual breakfast of bananas, and I have chopped dates. They're in the film can at the house. They're not with my berry picking stuff because I swapped them out 2 days ago when I was done. So breakfast is honey and berries. And about a half hour ago, 20 minutes ago, I made this cool biblical joke about honey and locusts and all that, but it seems like the moment has passed. And I got my tea. Nice if I had something to hang my tea from. I guess I could put it back. Yeah, I did my tea today so I can just take it off. Yeah, well, at this point, that's pretty much, I think there'll be enough. Once I can pick a couple containers, berries for breakfast is always good. Mid-June when it starts is usually pretty nice weather. In July it starts to heat up a little bit. Yeah. I think these patches, let's see, this 30 years ago, it was only around the outside edges, but the late 90s they started to cut this down. I came back in 2004 and it was a field except for these trees behind me. And that was pretty disconcerting. I was a bit upset about that because I walked through this woods as a boy pretty much until '89 when I went into the Navy. I was out here every summer. But they didn't do anything with it, and it went wild again. And there's berries all over the place now. I have 2 huge berry patches I picked that wouldn't exist back in the old woods. Ooh. Yogurt. I have some yogurt. It's a Noosa pumpkin flavor. I'll have to have that with some berries. I've been doing ice cream, but I want to go get some cheeses. There's some cheese at Aldi's I was eating with their berries. I'm gonna have to get some of that. I think it's Wensleydale. It's Welsh cheese, I think. Hard for me to remember without seeing the thing. Yep. Oh, hey Robin. I dropped a berry. Good. I'm pretty much eating bugs with them because I just picked them and there's bugs on them. Because I can look in the container sometimes and see them crawling around. This also keeps or none of it around the grass from clogging my throat. There's one grass out here that the pollen just nails me. Wild raspberries, they're called black raspberries. There are some mutant blonde raspberries around here. I hope to find some this season. The blonde don't have such a sharp taste as the black ones. I've never seen any red ones. I bought a couple of commercially available red ones, and they never seem to grow good. Well, that's half my berries that I have. I'm picking out the bigger ones. It's going to be kind of chintzy if I keep going. I lost another one. Now the animals can have that one. Yep. After raspberries, about 3 weeks raspberry season, blackberries. And right now there are blackberries all over the place. I don't know how many nice ones there are going to be. But last winter, a lot of the old blackberries died off. I'm looking for my bucket to put this in. I'm sitting on the bucket. Oh yeah, blackberry bushes are painful. They got some serious thorns on them. That bug in my hair? I'm bugged. Fly. The fly came for a visit. There aren't too many flies out yet. That's good. Somewhere I had a thorn I accumulated I wanted to pull out. I hope it's out already. Raspberry pie tastes great. Blackberry pie can be a little bitter. Got some nice shade right now with the sun. I should get out there. Ooh, there's a nice cloud up there. Southwestern Pennsylvania, about 15 minutes away from the mountain range. This summer I want to go up there and do some hiking, do some camping. I want to look around and see if there are any big berry patches up there that are publicly accessible. A friend of mine has some property with off-road trails. I'll probably live stream a little bit of that. Oh yeah. They'd probably be good with ice cream. I gotta try that. What are you gonna do when I move on, little fly? You gonna follow me or are you gonna stay here? I want you to stay here. You belong here. I wonder how many of the bushes back there have berries on them. Well, blueberry. We got blueberry bushes. They're not doing too good this year. I don't know how many berries we're going to get. Yeah, sounds good. Mix all the berries together. I like a fresh berry mix. Although we have ever-bearing blackberries that we bought in the yard. So I can have blackberries and grapes, and blackberries and goji berries. We got goji berry bushes. Last year we had some blueberries and we got josta berries. So I got to mix some of them last year. This year there was a freeze this end of the second week of May, and I don't think there's hardly anything left. It had been warm since the beginning of March and all the blossoms came out, and I think most of them got frozen. Tea in my nose. Yeah, well, it happens. Okay. Some water. A little bit more honey to coat everything, and then it's time to do this. My neighbor keeps telling me to get one of these to pick berries into, and I got to try this out because I usually have a bag that I use. Merlin, welcome. Although, I believe you were lurking earlier. Yes, you were. Well, welcome back. Okay.
bucket has its lid. Let's get things sorted out. Honey goes in there. Water goes in there. Berry container goes in there. The lid goes on the bucket. And the bucket's just going to sit on the side somewhere. I have an itch. Put water in my hair, but oh, there's a big berry right there. Here off in the shade. I got you. I got you. Wow, that's a nice one there. Where's the camera at? Zoom in on that. Ooh. Okay. Yeah, enjoy your lurk. You can certainly try that. Okay, if this is here, if I put this here, my idea is to just have this hang here and put the berries in and then pour them back into the little containers. When I lived in Florida, there were little banana trees growing in the backyard with a mulberry tree in this one yard. That was pretty cool. Those little bananas aren't as tasty as the big ones, though. Okay, let's see. Is that big enough? Put that in there. Throw the berries in here. Why, you got water in you? I hope it's water. No, it's just water. Water container. Oh, I could have used that in my hair. Oh well. Oh, they're not going to be in there that long. I pour them into my... I use these for... This is what I used to pick into. I use these for storage. And they'll just be here in the bucket. They're only going to be about 2 or 3 hours before they go in and get put in the... get cleaned and refrigerated or frozen. Ah, there we are. Take this back off. I got enough extra thingies here. We'll put that in there. I could probably put that back in the bucket. My bots are on the job. Okay, let's go back to berry picking. Switch. Back into the rig. Cradle. The cradle is at work. So, this is the idea. And through this little thing right here, this opening is the main berry patch. Let's see what's, well, it's a 3-parter. Let's see what we got over here. Well, not much. I might actually have to go up on top of the hill and pick there. This might be a 2-part day, but let's have a look-see. Can you rest? No, don't want it there. I should make something in the bucket to hold my stick while I'm doing this. I've already made picking paths in this patch, so I just got to pick berries. Picky pick. Let's see, I've discussed a philosophy on towing as a professional tower, berry picking as a dedicated amateur, wealth from my own personal perspective. What else can I talk about? It sounds really great out here right now. The traffic noises are cut down by the thick foliage, and the birds are all singing. Had some crows earlier. I hope they come back by. I like the sound of the crow. Let's see. I also have to see what I can get into here. I made my rudimentary paths, but my dedicated picking paths aren't really set yet. I gotta say, I kind of like this picking container. Dry it out next time. Of course, without the filming rig, there wouldn't be anything. I'd have to hook it onto a string. I should probably take the tea bottle off. This early in the picking, you can just reach out and grab this stuff. Once they've had time to ripen up, sometimes you just like flick a little pod and they fall. So you got to have your hands under them. Oh hey, there's actually a hole through here. These weeds grow up and you lose track of the obvious areas to walk through. And then I see some of my grass nemesis here. You wouldn't think your main nemesis would be a plant. But some of this stuff clogs my throat up so bad I could barely breathe. One thing I like to do is look around all the different ways to look, because berries hide out. Even once they're all bright red and purple, they're still kind of tricky sometimes. You got to make sure you take a look underneath, look up above. There's some up the hill here I can't quite get to. I'm into a vine right here that's growing that way. I can't get to the ones up on top up there. I might be able to back where I was, though. One thing when stepping through the heavy underbrush is there's berry vines down in it that you might be stepping over, stepping through. And when they're young, they're easy to crush down. I know when I lean in, I watched the film from last time. When I lean in, all you see is leaves. The leaves come real close in person. This is pretty calm, slow picking because there's not a lot of ripe berries yet. Once they're ripe, I'll just be reaching out, grabbing them like crazy and stuffing them in the bottle and moving on as quick as I can. Oh, yeah, I like this bottle idea. Might be nice to have a little flap to close it. I hear the crow in the distance. Now, one thing that I don't have anymore is a good way through here. It used to exist. Well, that's a nice one. I just ate it. It used to exist, but it got clobbered. I could almost go through there. And I don't want to let the bucket get too far away, especially where I'm stepping through the heavy stuff. Yeah, I felt that. You grabbed me. And you're not getting my hair either. Cutting myself a little path here. Maybe cutting myself a little path. This is something I could have done earlier, but I was here and it kind of slipped my mind that I didn't have a trail. Or I ought to come out and cut it already before the picking started. Underneath of all that, there's a new berry plant coming up. First, we pick the berry, and give me the berry. Then we see if this will move out of the way. You don't necessarily want to pull them out of the ground because they make roots, and you want those new roots. So in this case, we're going to duck under. Maybe. Ducking under is a tricky proposition because it'll claw you in the back. And you'll get stuck on it, or it gets in your hair. Nope, it's not cooperating with the duck under. Well then, let's see. There's a berry over here to pick around a blackberry that I don't like. This is one of those days that always feels like it's going slowly. There's nothing growing down here to pick, I don't think, so just in case it has a root, I'm going to cut it. And I'm going to lift it up over me. Now, I'm still getting stuck. Raspberries don't have big thorns, but they will catch your clothing. This is my first season bringing a bucket as a container, mostly because it makes a good seat. And it'll prevent the stuff from getting squished. I used to have a canvas bag. And I'm hoping there will be less spills with a bucket. Because it's got to empty out. The bag spills were pretty easy. So we're down into a really good berry picking patch. Only this section of it doesn't look like it's all that. I still got to get over there. I got to go under this big arch right here. It grows up and it comes back down and it goes in the ground and makes roots. That's how you want it to grow. And I'm being clawed by stuff from behind. I already did a little bit of maintenance in this area, but it's a constant thing. I just like to have it all done by the time I get the main berry pick, so I can just come in and pick and keep going. The farmer's out finally getting ready to bale up his hay. He might have been getting his equipment fixed or something. It breaks down periodically. And then you cut things back in the wintertime and think that'll be nice, and then it starts growing. And it's not as nice as it was. Probably at some point go down that way. But I got a nice path in here, I think. This is one thing I knew when I decided to live stream it, that moving through with the filming rig was going to be tricky. Moving through this period is tricky. Alright, now we're through there. There's a few to pick in here. Let's get a good look and see. I'm hoping up the hill, that patch up the hill has been doing good the last couple years, so I'm hoping it's hopping. And you're probably hearing all kind of bopping noises from this container. I used to just wear a canvas bag on my neck and put the containers in it and pick into it until it got too heavy, and then I'd put the containers in another bag. It looks beautiful. I like the way it's growing. I periodically like to pause so the view isn't bouncing all over the place. As I cut out the undesirable stuff, I'm always careful to try to avoid the raspberries that are coming up for next year. So, I saw some stuff down here. I don't know if I can get to it. They don't always grow the most convenient. This area grows these really big juicy berries. And I see a whole pile of them. I just lost a berry. It fell off. Who knows where it went. Down over here, and there's berries down at my feet too. I think Well, there ought to be a way around the outside here. There was one. So I'm thinking that whatever this is clobbered it. There's blackberry coming up in here. There's a piece of raspberry going that way. Yeah, this fell over here. And I'm not sure. I try not to take out too much of the wild stuff to pick. Just let it grow on its own, but I have to be able to go through here to pick. And the one thing that can't be changed is where the raspberries grow. I used to try to tie them up and keep them off the path, but that usually just messes with their growth. And it doesn't work out as good. So now I try to take out everything but the raspberries, and just to have a way down through here. There are raspberries growing down in here too. And then there are vines. And sometimes I have paths in the wintertime, and then a wind comes through and blows stuff down and it collapses. And then I don't have paths through. Well, you took a dive down. I was checking. Is it still right? I was checking the chat, and you took a dive down into the thing. Make sure I'm still live. Yeah, looks like it's alright. The last thing is, once the sunlight's like this, I cannot easily see the chat. It just kind of hides. The screen seems... Ooh. Okay. I want to go through here, and there's new raspberry plants, vines, old raspberry plants. Let's see, and this stuff. I think I can step through right here. As long as I step carefully, I should be okay. And some dead blackberry that's going to be painful if I don't get rid of it. The stuff, given the opportunity, will cut you. And it gets the opportunity sometimes. I'm trying to get down to these juicy berries I saw right over here. I'm going to pick them from this side. I don't know why. The nice thing about having something to hang the container to hold the berries is you can pick two-handed. You know, I'm thinking about what you said about having a couple of holes in the bottom of the container. And I think I'm actually going to do that. It just trickled through the conscious thoughts while I'm berry picking. I also don't know that I need this lid on the top, because it did have a little bit of water down in there. Breathing holes, huh? And I do have the ability to, because this is different from the containers I usually use, that might be a good idea to have some breathing holes. I just poked a little awl hole around the outside just to let the air flow, so it's got that enclosed space, because this, just as long as the berries can't get out, air can go through. And we'll put some on the bottom, because I got a bunch of these saved up. If I mess one up, I can always get another one. There we go. They got some airflow, a little bit. Thank you for the idea, too. I would have just, because I realized if I fill this up in an area, there's going to be a lot of berries in here. I have those 24-ounce containers. And once full, I just get the next one and keep picking. What's in my... Oh, put things in the wrong pockets, and I wonder what I feel in the pocket. I'm like, what's that? Oh, I'm being jabbed by something, and I just realized what it was. Now you can come out of there. We don't need you. Okay. You're going to get tall and undesirable. Some of this stuff grows up 8, 10, 12 feet and then falls over in the winter. Or even the fall. September, it'll be on the ground and it'll smash the new patch stuff. And once it's smashed down to the... I dropped a berry and it got caught and it got caught again. This berry was saved. Caught in the plant after I dropped it. Kind of like having a helper with me. Okay, so if I go around that way, see, I have to come back up and grab my bucket. But where it's at, I think I can get to, because I'm going to try to keep going around. I don't know if I can. Oh, look, my friend I threw over here. How about you get out of the way? I say friend in the loosest sense of the term, since you're dead plant material that I don't want to get stabbed by. Yeah, I kind of mentally plan these out. I'm caught by a line. Oh, I'm actually caught by a berry line. We'll cut you right here. It's a jungle in here. I kind of mentally plan this stuff out in the wintertime, but once it starts growing, sometimes you have to revise that a little bit. Because it doesn't always stay conformed. And there's right back there, back here, we were on the other side of that about 25 minutes ago. This is actually the other portion. I could have come up through there, but I wanted to take my break in the one area. Now I was trying to, I picked this. See, I picked this, and here's one I missed, because I didn't see it from the other side. I was coming down here to pick the rest of these juicy berries and make sure this raspberry patch, I'm going to actually have to dig down in. This is getting out of hand. I don't think there's any raspberries down here yet. Oh, behind me there are. But this thing will just keep expanding if I let it. See what I like to do. That looks like, is that raspberry? There's raspberry down in here. This is wild rose bush. That looks like a raspberry. What I like to do is track down into these and find the root source. I don't know where this is coming from. You got to be really careful with this. That's dead. Oh no, it isn't. And that's a raspberry. Well, it doesn't look like it's got much on it, and it's not pickable in this. Hard to see. I can't tell where the source for this rose bush is at. Sometimes it just grows up a whole bunch of little things. But a lot of times when there's a big bunch of it, it's got a source. And you can go back and cut that off. No, I feel something heavy under there. But getting into it, that's another story. And I realize I've stopped berry picking to... what's that? That's a heavy piece, but that's not a new piece. Back to berry picking. What did I cut off now? I can't even tell where it goes. It doesn't have much berries on it, so it's all right. Berries don't grow good in the dark, in the shade. They need sunlight, rain, fresh air. The ones that grow under the heavy trees, well, blackberries don't grow under the trees very well. The flies have found me. Raspberries will grow under the trees in the heavy shade, but you don't get a lot of berries out of those. So I'm making my way through here, and this stuff's gotten really heavy. There's a lot of berry in here, it's just hiding. and not a lot of it's ripe yet. And I had a path through here. I'm making sure I don't clobber. I know I've been through here because somebody cut off the pokeweed. Oh, okay. Ow, that's a nice one. I don't know if there's going to be much more than 2 containers today stopping in here, because there's not a lot yet. Right, there's a lot. Ow. I found wild rose bush, and it needs dealt with here. See, this rose bush expands, and it's expanding into the berry patch here. I saw a couple pieces of it and decided to take it out. There's some raspberries right there. Over here's another really good area. This whole area is just like a bunch of little sub patches all clumped together. And I'm hoping that my stick is up there with my bucket, that I didn't bring it partially through and leave it somewhere. I saw these and I wanted to pick them up here. Sometimes I lean over. Being taller and having longer arms is definitely an advantage in berry picking. I think I got blessed with that too. Look around. While I'm here, this area is thicker than it usually is with this stuff, whatever this stuff is. I think it's goldenrod, actually. It has the look of goldenrod about it. Some years, this area, like up the hill where we first came in and it was kind of open, that was thick berry patch that you couldn't walk through the last 3 years. I should make a dropped berry counter and have somebody watching that can put the thing in, because I've dropped 3 berries so far. Although I don't really need that. They can grow more berries. Having a dropped berry counter wouldn't do me anything. I'd stop for 5 or 10 minutes and look for drop berries in the past, but I got over that. Okay, this looks pretty good. I see one over there. Yeah, one thing, the little containers fill up pretty quick. This big container is going to be slow filling up, and there's stuff out here that makes you itch. I'm not sure what all the itchy things are, but it's definitely out here. Part of it's the sweat getting into the cuts, because you get cut up a little bit. These are really, my thing's crooked, these are really nice. When you see a thick one like this, that's about 1/2 inch. That's close to 3/4 of an inch. Those keep growing throughout the rest of the year until October or so, November, and they'll do really nice. Next year they'll be the potentially really nice vines, because you can't be sure. Some of them will be, but you don't know exactly which ones. Oh, you're not actually tagged down. See, this one either got cut, broke off, or didn't make a root. Once they make a root, you can cut them off, and that end can be free. Yeah, I'm going to have to come in next winter. I'm going to have to go in each patch and clear a wild rose bush out a bit, because it's starting to get out of hand. This stuff's gone all over the place. And yeah, only thing is, I probably went through last fall and cut a lot of this out. It just grows like crazy. I'm tracing down to the root. Get it at the root's the best way. I'm looking to see. This is a really good picking area. Somehow I've gotten water on my glasses. And stream element's still up. Orientation got missed. I'm glad I saw that. Chat's no longer here. Oh, it cleared out the chat on me. Looks like I'm still pointed to... Oh, I'm not live. Let me check on Twitch. So Twitch says I'm live. So Twitch says I'm live. Okay. So Twitch says I'm live. Here's what I forgot to do. I forgot to plug the battery back in. So we might be back. Twitch won't go live for me. I'm going to check it and see if I'm actually live. Stream Elements says that we're live. Twitch doesn't say that we're live. Oh yeah, hey. I might be live right now. If I am, welcome to... I'm killing Twitch. So I might be live. Until the phone overheats again. I'm going to put it back in the rig. If I'm live, you could tell me. Might be dead again. If someone is a regular or is above just a casual watcher, put exclamation point DED in when it dies. That can count for video game dead and phone dead. So back to berry picking. Phone overheated, and I wanted to check. I couldn't see it. It dims the screen down. I couldn't see it, and I wanted to check, and Stream Elements gucked up and dropped it. There's an hour of berry picking left. I'll have to stitch the video together. It was a nice little break. It actually cooled off a little bit. The shade came back out. The clouds, I say, shade. And there's a berry over there to pick that I didn't get. That's one of those things where you... And I stepped in here and the vines are messing up the berry plants because they caught on them. And when I'm stepping in to pick, I'm not hitting the berry plants, but the vines are doing damage. Yeah, there's a berry over there. I can't get to it. I'm just going to paw through here a little bit. We got this grapevine making it hard to see. I picked this area while the phone was down. So if I'm live, I'm live. This is a kind of walk by faith and not by sight kind of thing, in that even when Stream Elements is on, I got to load Twitch. And right now the phone doesn't want to do with too much. And I thought I had Discord announcement turned off when I was on mobile data. And it appears it's still picking up. It might be picking up the announcements, because I was pretty sure I turned off Discord's access to mobile data. I'm fighting some blackberries that came up. They weren't here in the winter. They just came up. They're trying to get into my hair. I haven't put water in my hair. The water bottle's over with the bucket. I might have to put tea in my hair. And see, I'm taking out this and it's clawing up this little blackberry, this little raspberry that's right here. I'm being careful not to get that, because that's a new one for next year. I just want to get through here. And we don't got a lot of berries yet. I'm hoping in the early days, if I get one container, I'll eat a half a container. Actually, I eat a little bit more. I eat like 2/3 and 1/3. Because tomorrow's a run day, I won't be picking. And I've spent a good chunk today just here on patch maintenance, which is okay. Because if I don't maintain the patch, then I can't come in and pick anyways. It's like, what am I going to be picking? Nothing. The patch will be messed up. So it's a fair trade-off. It's a fair exchange. I used to watch a lot people like Jim Sterling and the Quartering, Jeremy Hambley, the Jimquisition. And these guys, they moan and complain a lot, which has its own detriments. See, this wasn't across the... You weren't across there and you got into my berries. I say my berries, I share them. There's my bucket over there. I need to bring that. We're going up the hill. I need to pick the little bit that's here and get that bucket. Being careful of the new stuff. And where's my stick? Okay, there's my bucket. Where's the walking stick? The adventure continues. I don't know what I did with a walking stick. This is why I stopped naming them, because I lose them. I know I came from there. It's not over there. It's not laying here anywhere. It must be down in here. It probably fell over. Ooh, hey, did I miss a berry? I got to go back up that way, but I kind of want my walking stick. I know I went through here, and I had it with me at one point. It's just completely disappeared. I don't see it anywhere. I might be out of walking stick. Once you set something down out here, you might see it again, you might not. It's possible it's sitting out in the trees there. I got an hour of picking left, and I'd really like to do the picking. I'm just not sure I feel like moving on without my walking stick. I'm almost wondering if I left it sitting out there, because I don't see it anywhere. It's possible it fell over here somewhere and I just lost track of it. I'm going to have to call and pray for blessings on finding the walking stick. I know when I went through here I didn't have it. It's not over there, because when I did this I didn't have it. I walked through there without it, and it doesn't look like it fell down over here. I wasn't over there. I didn't go through there. There's another trail down. So what we're going to do is, the best thing to do is to continue on. See, I was just out here. You know what? I think I just found a new way through. Well, I say new way. It's just a way through. Because this is where I went up. No, it isn't. It's the closer side. But still, it goes up the hill here. There's just one vine in the way here. Well, two vines. Ow. I got bit. I get bit a lot. I say bit, but it's really just the thorns. What I'm doing now is looking up the hill and seeing if I left it sitting there, and I don't see it in the tree where I was taking my break. Well, I have a whole stack of walking sticks in my shed just for this occasion. Of course, that was my favorite. Note to self, somewhat reconsider really having a favorite walking stick. Because I got another walking stick I can easily bring. Oh, I see it. It's setting up here underneath where I went under this arch. I don't know if you can see it, but I can see it, and it's not easy to get to. Ooh, but hey, I got some berries to pick. I'm easily distracted. It's actually somewhat of an advantage. Being easily distracted could be an advantage. Okay, ooh, I got some really nice berries to pick. This area grows these beautiful big black raspberries. See, there's red raspberries, there's blonde raspberries, there's orange raspberries, there's black raspberries. These, the deep purple ones, are the black ones. They could have called them deep purple. That would have been kind of cool, deep purple raspberries. I'm going to yeet these out of here because I'm in the middle of my patch. Oh, can I get to this from up there? I'll pick that side from up there. I'll pick over here. I'm going around. I'm going up there anyways. I'm going through. Hey, I just realized I'm being bit by a blackberry. My fingers are going to be, oh, that went on the trail. My fingers are going to be full of thorns. I don't know if you can, if it'll focus and you can see that. That's about a 1.5 millimeter, 2 millimeter thorn. They go in, they come out. Well, I hope they come out. And I've got the, this is why I wear my tea bottle. I got the grass seed in my throat. The pollen. I need to go back to my bucket and get the honey. It's going to be a little, if the phone's even transmitting because it's heating up again. Stream Element says I'm live. I'm bloodied up by a thorn. My throat is clogged up by pollen from the grass. I don't even know which grass. My walking stick is where I can't reach it. Everything's great. Because at the end of the day, if I have a container and a half of berries, I'm going to eat me fresh berries for 2 days, and I'm going to come out and pick more for the 3 weeks that I have for berry picking, and this is my favorite time of the year. Some people like Christmas because, you know, time off work, presents, family. I think Christmas was better in the 70s and 80s when I was a kid because it didn't feel as commercialized. I mean, marginally you knew why you were getting the presents, but as a kid, I wondered if I understood like the real reason for Christmas. But one of my favorite things to do, I don't know if this thing's active or not. Stream Element says I'm live. Yeah, I'm in the berry patch. You probably can't see me. This looks like really shaded. Going back to this. Having an emotional moment. I can actually reach. I got long arms. I can actually reach my stick. I'm not going to mess these up. Okay, I got my walking stick recovered marginally through the jaggers. Alright, we're re-sticked. But I don't know how much I understood of the purpose of Christmas. And technically I probably shouldn't call it that, but that's the label the world gives to it. I don't know how much I understood, but one of my favorite things to do was to just sit in this big rocking chair we had in the living room. We still have it. It's in a different room. Mom put it upstairs. I would sit there and just listen to Christmas music. We had one of those 70s record players. It's a big console, and it had the record changer, and I would put a stack of Christmas music on and just sit there and listen. And I don't know who might be lurking or watching right now, but one of the events in my youth when we lived in this rented farmhouse, and that's one of the reasons I like bees so much. That's a separate story. And my dad, my human father, he worked at a place called Fruhoff. The building's still there. It does some kind of industrial stuff now, or it's for rent. Things change around here slowly, but they do change. And he liked to get off work and go to a bar, and I have a few memories of him, not too many, maybe 6. That's not the reason for my screen name. I think about half the memories I have are either going to a bar or being in one. Well, one of them's a bowling alley, but people went there to drink. And before my grandma passed away, went on to the next destination, as it were. Mom didn't like Dad's drinking, so she said, give up drinking or give up us. And human Dad left. And it's taken me many years to realize, in the overarching long run of things, I think he made the right choice. Because if he had stayed, it's cooling off, maybe the phone will stay streaming, if it's streaming. If I'm live, because I can't tell. If you're in my chat and listening, tell me if I'm live. Because because I know it dropped out and everybody probably moved on to other streams. It took me about 15 minutes to get it back. But what passed for wisdom in his mind, I think he knew he wasn't going to give up drinking. And that could have been all kinds of bad. But the interesting thing about this part of this story, I never got the feeling that anything was missing in my life. As I grew up, I met kids that had dads, and I never thought anything of it. And even into college, when I was going over to people's houses to run role-playing campaigns and I'd meet their dad, I never thought, well, they have a dad, why don't I have one? And it's just kind of interesting to me that I never acted up about it. I never even really talked to anybody about it. Oh, that's your dad? Oh, hey, it's nice to meet you, Mr. So-and-so. I had quite a few friends. I think this is a berry vine from last year. And if it is, it's got some berries on it. Usually they don't live 2 years. They do a season and then they're done. They grow up these new things. They go through, we're back to berry picking philosophy. These new things, they go through a winter, they turn purple, they have their berries, they're dead. By the end of September, usually. Blackberries, on the other hand, will grow and grow and grow and grow. You cut them off, they grow more. You cut them off, they grow back. That's elderberry right there. Looks like the bird's already picking at them, and they're not even ripe. So this is our berry picking area today, and if I have an entire container, I might only pick this area. I'm debating. I think tomorrow I'll be able to go back up on top of the hill, but I don't think I want to stay out too far past 2:30, and I know it's already after 1. Because I want to keep my lunch schedule regular and my afternoon stream regular. These days I have a Quake thing this weekend on one of the few surviving Paint Keep servers, and I want to kind of practice up a little bit. I was supposed to practice last night, and I got on my map editing and looked at my watch at one point and thought it said 9:55, and I figured, well, I got about 50 minutes. It was 10:45 we were going on, and at some point after that, within a couple of minutes, I realized it was almost 11 o'clock. But it just didn't trickle through. It just didn't trickle through. I dropped one. As I was working on my map, because I messed it up the night before, it's gotten too complicated. The engine can handle it, but the map compiler can't. What the maps I'm making. Yeah, I'm actually bending over to pick up a lost berry because I could see it when it fell. If I don't see it fall or it's really thick down there, I don't do that. But it trickled through my mind that it was already 11 o'clock. And the person I'm supposed to play with, shout out to Kutchy, was actually there. And it just didn't get all the way through the map editing. And after he bipped off, it's like, oh, crikey, I completely missed that. But then I'm easily distracted. Like, I'm wondering why this is a berry vine is dead. I'm wondering why this died. And I need to go have my honey. The clog in my throat's kicking up again. There's grass seed in here somewhere because the pollen got in. It grows up in here in places. Oh, but there's some nice berries right over on this vine that I want. I like this bigger berry picking bottle. I don't have to stop and swap things out as much, and it's going to be really wicked cool when it's full and I start dumping it into containers. We yeet this out of here, I hope. Yeet it all the way over there. Yes, I am actually qualified to use the word yeet in a real life situation with these blackberries that need to be yeeted all the way over there so they're out of the patch. Because the whole point of getting them out is not to have to reach through them, so I don't want them in the patch anywhere. I could actually back off to back here and get this stuff. And I know I diverged from talking father subjects, but I never really noticed. I did great in school grade-wise. I'm actually just going to drop this on the ground here somewhere because it's too far to eat that way now. It's not going to go all the way and it's going to fall in the new berries. But life went by. And, oh, that's interesting. This blackberry actually had blossoms on it, and it looks like a new one. I think one of the things that happens, the everbearing will grow new and then have blossoms. And I think this stuff mixes, either the pollen or the seeds get out here or something, because this is new. And I think it's new, unless, no, it's off an old one. Nope. But I know they do co-mix. They do co-mingle there, as it were. Oh, I'm reaching over to pick a few berries one-handed, hoping that this is a good place. I should have my stick. I want that berry. Okay, got it. I hope I'm still alive. I can't tell. Stream Element says I'm still alive. I can't tell if that's a bot. Lurking. Yeah, you Twitch Prime subscriber, you might be Merlin. When the phone gets hot, it dims the screen really far, and there's no way to brighten it up, so I can't read it. Okay, let's see. Honey, I think I picked this area good. Or decent anyways. There's some down here there's some way down here. I know when I bend down, all you see is like my boots or my leg. I watched my own videos, or the berry picking container, but there's berries down here to pick. Well, that's actually a decent amount in there. It's just a big container. I got to go up through here in a minute. Got to go pick up that way. I'd like to know what time it is. I can drag the phone down, but I can't quite see it. It won't give it to me. Hey, go back to Stream Elements. There we go. Yeah, I can't tell what it is, and I can't read it now. It's heating up again. If it drops out, it's the phone. It's not a reliable device out in this heat, out in the berry picking field in this sun. I had it in the shade for a while, and it cooled back off. So I'm just going to continue like it's still cranking unless I see that it's completely dead. And in the past, when I went through here, I would talk to myself anyways, just to self-entertain. I think I realized something about people that stream on Twitch. If you're capable of self-entertaining, you can be a streamer. Because I would pretty much talk to myself. And I think one of the reasons that I would talk to myself is what I was explaining about my dad left when I was 4, my human dad. And I never thought much of it. I never thought much of him. And later in life, the last decade or so, my wife at the time, I've got something sizable in my boot. I don't know what it is. I'm standing on it. We got to do a boot clearing. But my wife at the time wanted me, she reached out to her dad, who was actually an abusive father. He was kind of a hellraiser, into drugs and heavy drinking, maybe more than my dad, because I don't really know much about my dad's drinking. I just know my mom didn't like it. And she was all about getting back in touch, and she wanted me to do it. And pretty much out of respect for my mom's wishes, I haven't. But then I know that there will be a day I'll be able to reconcile that. We'll both get our chance, I think, to reconcile. But it got me thinking, though. Going through the logical steps, I plan everything out in my mind. I plan out my berry picking. I walk around in the wintertime and I plan my paths. I can't always use them, but I plan them anyways. I plan my maps, I plan my mods. I plan it all in my head. And thinking through it, I've been like that from before I was a computer programmer. I was like that. Just for entertainment, I would plan stuff out in my head. Because we didn't have a lot of money to buy all the cool stuff a lot of other kids got. I got a little bit. the way I got into, yeah, I'm diverging topic if I'm still live. The way I got into electronics, I was a fan of Lost in Space. And I had a board game box from some game out in the shed. And I had a bunch of wires and components I'd saved up. And I wired it all together and made a little mock-up spaceship control panel, kind of based on Lost in Space's stuff. This was the 70s, so we didn't quite have the high tech that we have now. There was no robotic Legos. There was no apps on cell phones. You made do with the tech you had. And after that, Mom started buying me electronic kits when we had money. And I actually, before I got into computer programming, made radio circuitry and things like that, which I would later do professionally in the Navy as an electronics technician. It was kind of like a preview of a career to come when I was 10 years old, 9 years old. Anyways, as I was going through the logical planning steps of actually thinking about reaching out and calling him, and I might have